Hello again, Gooners. That wasn't as high pitched as I normally manage to make it, but yeah, maybe I'm suffering from hay fever still, or perhaps it's watching Team GB last night on BBC One. It was, to me, it wasn't the most interesting game I've ever seen in my life, I'll be honest. So I'm looking forward to seeing Arsenal in friendly action. Some people say these friendly games mean nothing at all. I beg to differ on that. I think well, I'll be talking about it later. That's one of the things that's coming up. I'll give you the quiz question now, I will answer at the end. The quiz question is this: the late Danny Fiszman, who was his favourite player? Going to read an extract from Steve Stammer's book, and the answer is in that. So that's your kind of listening exercise, if you like. And also, what's on the agenda? Santi Cazorla. Can't seem to get his name right, but can we get the price right? We'll see later, or perhaps we won't. Gaston Ramirez, another bit of transfer speculation regarding him. Not a lot going on, so I'm not going to make any false promises and tell you something's going to happen there, but I will discuss it. Thomas Eisfeld, how good is he? Briefly, I might cover that. Theo Walcott, is he on the way to Chelsea? Again, that's something that I will discuss later. Also, the Twitter phenomenon and how it's affecting our team and our players more importantly. And that's just about it. So it's going to be a brief one. Oh, and finally, I will do my J League predictions because a whole round of J League games coming up this weekend. Obviously, a lot of us focused on Olympic football right now, but some of us looking at the J League too. So a little bit of that as well. So if you like the J League, you're not going to find out much, but you're going to find out what my predictions are. And that should be enough, shouldn't it? Anyway, Manchester City is the team we take on today in our next pre-season friendly of the Far East. I've predicted the team as follows: Manoni in goal, which is he played the last 90 minutes. Perhaps he'll spend another 90 proving what he can do and why he should be the number 2 between the sticks for Arsenal in this forthcoming season, unless we buy in a player like Hugo Lloris, who looks destined to join Spurs, incidentally. I've got a back four of Jenkinson, Giroud, Vermaelen and Gibbs. Could be Santos instead of Gibbs, but I think the boss is preferring to put Santos further up the pitch. And a midfield 5, if you like, of Gervinho, Diaby, Song, Arteta and Oxlade-Chamberlain. Theo Walcott may start instead of Gervinho. And I think he'll try Chamakh up front again. Obviously, a lot of us have seen enough of Chamakh to make the decision that he should be moved out, but who wants him? Doesn't look like anyone wants him. Every team that's been linked has said publicly they're not interested, which obviously is a great shame because we'd like to, cash in on him or at least save the money on wages, which is thought to be around £44,000 a week. Meanwhile, wages are preventing Robin Van Persie moving on, of course. He's been allocated the number 10 shirt, but what does that mean for the forthcoming season? Some people say because Lukas Podolski has not been allocated a number, that means that he'll get the number 10. I'm not so sure we can see it like that because obviously Chu Young Park, he could be on the way out if we can find a buyer. He wears the number 9, and more likely Andrei Arshavin looks set to leave again. No one's coming up with the necessary money to make the deal happen, but the number 23 shirt would then be up for grabs. Perhaps Podolski fancies himself as a number 23 for Arsenal. Who knows? But Juventus seem to have pulled out the running. Their director, Giuseppe Marotta, said that Arsenal do not intend to lose him. I think a lot was lost in translation in that Sky News report, so I'm not going to read too much into that. And well, the latest news really on the Robin Van Persie saga is that perhaps the club will keep him until January. Perhaps that's just an idle threat, but I suspect that lessons were learnt from last season, I say hopefully, and perhaps he will in fact stay put. Well, what else have we got on the transfer front? Well, there's also on the outgoing front, Theo Walcott being linked with a £25 million move to Chelsea and £100,000 a week deal. Can't really see that one happening personally. I think Theo seems settled, as he's mentioned. He doesn't seem to be looking for a move. If he were, perhaps he'd want to go to Liverpool, because that's the team he supported as a child. But other than that, I think a deal will be done, and I think Theo will stay, despite what's being written elsewhere. Obviously, I said we should make a move for Andy Carroll. West Ham seem to be in the process of doing that, and they're trying to land him for 17 or 18 million pounds, depending on which media source you believe most. Emmanuel Adebayor, not saying he's greedy or anything, but he wants 5,000 £5 million in cash from the transfer fee that Manchester City are likely to get, which is scuppering his move to Tottenham. We're obviously quite pleased that it doesn't look like he'll necessarily end up at White Hart Lane. But then again, are we pleased? Because we know what Adebayor is like. One good season followed by a bad one. He had a good season last season in the last campaign, so probably a bad one is set to come from him. And looking at players coming in, well, Santi Cazorla, we've already discussed that. It looks like they want more money than we've currently offered. If the offer is in fact real, is it real? We don't know, but there's a lot of talk that this deal's really going to happen from a number of respected journalists, so I'm starting to believe it myself. But their coach Manuel Pellegrini says they want more than 20 million euros. Apparently that's all we've offered so far, which is around 15 million pounds. Incidentally, that's the amount we're apparently offering for Uruguay attacking midfielder Gaston Ramirez. Bologna want about 15 million pounds or 20 million perhaps. Bologna looking for that kind of money, as well as ourselves. Liverpool interested, but I'm not reading a lot into that. I find it a bit hard to believe. I think the Cazorla one is far more likely to happen because of Malaga's sort of financial position. Anyway, that doesn't lead me on very well to Benik Afobe and his Twitter spat. Not quite sure why our players are getting involved in this kind of thing. Obviously, they should remember that they're players and they're paid to play football, not to get involved in social networking. They should, if they've got enough money, they should pay somebody to do that. Hello, I'm available. Not really. I'm not one of the Twitterati, if you like. So, but I'm sure I can find someone for you if you pay me enough. I'll be your agent, your social networking agent. How about that? Perhaps somebody will actually do that one of these days. And then, as well as that, of course, that I was mentioning before, the whole situation regarding Team GB, and we've got a player involved in that. But it kind of sent me to sleep. I didn't really see Rambo in action. I saw us score the opening goal with. I say us. Do I feel that I'm actively involved in this tournament? Not so far. I think David Beckham should have been drafted in instead of Ryan Giggs as captain. I feel like political reasons scuppered that, but that's just a theory. Not quite sure what Ryan Giggs offers a team, although he did have a hand in the goal, which came from a free kick, Bellamy scoring. Anyway, Rambo's there, and wish him the best of luck, and let's hope Britain do win gold. And obviously, the other thing I was going to mention is the J-League. I promised. I'm just going to go through this quickly, so if you don't like it, close your eyes and hold your ears. I'm just looking at the next round of games in the J-League. Consadole Sapporo play Nagoya Grampus. That's going to be an away win, but you won't get much money on it, 4-11. Urawa Reds against Jubilo Iwata. I've got that down as a home win. You get 11-10 on that. Both of those are early kickoffs tomorrow. Vegalta Sendai against Sagan Tosu. I've got that as a home win. Not going to win much on that, 3-5. Kashima Antlers against Sanfrecce, I think it is, 23-10 on the draw. And Sanfrecce Hiroshima. Tokyo against Albirex Niigata. I've got a home win. Again, not good odds, 4-5. Kashima Reiso against Cerezo Osaka, 13-5 on the draw. Kawasaki Frontale against Omiya Ardija. That's a home win for me. But I couldn't get any odds on that. I don't know what's going on there. Yokohama F Marinos against Shimizu S-Pulse, 11-10 on the home win. And Vissel Kobe against Gamma Osaka. Let's not forget, that's a local derby. That's going to be a draw, in my opinion. So I'll see how I get on. I'll let you know if I won money on that. I'll try and get the odds on that last game as well. I didn't get odds on it. But that may have been me not bothering to find the odds after I discovered that not every game had odds. Well, how odd is that? Oh, sorry about that lame gag. I'm definitely struggling with my hay fever today, aren't I? Anyway, Danny Fiszman's favourite player. That's the final thing on the agenda for this particular podcast, vlog, vidcast. I didn't even say what number it is. It was welcome to the Loose Cannon number 42. Anyway, yeah, it's a bit hot in here, so please excuse all my mistakes. But talking of mistakes, obviously Arsenal made their fair share, and I'm not talking about having Danny Fiszman on the board when the late director was around. But this whole business about being behind the Manchester clubs, it's not particularly new. So I'm going to take you back to the 50s, way before I was born, and when we used to try to compete then. And this is from Steve Stammer's official biography. And he writes, Arsenal tried to compete, but they found themselves hamstrung by a lack of funds. Well, same today, right? Even though it shouldn't be the case. While the late great Sir Matt Busby had the vision and foresight to invest heavily in the youth policy at Manchester United in the post-war years, Arsenal had relied heavily on an ageing squad that constantly had to be rejuvenated. There were excellent young players who emerged, like Welshman Derek Tapscott, for example. That reminded me of Aaron Ramsey, of course. Derek Tapscott, even, for example, who finished the 56-57 season as top scorer. But there was nothing like the strength and depth. I think it should be strength in depth, but that's me being a proofreader. Strength in depth of the squad at United, whose potential was never to be fulfilled because of the Munich air crash tragedy. Their names were legendary: Tommy Taylor, Duncan Edwards, Eddie Coleman, David Pegg, Roger Byrne and others. Crayston just could not compete with the players that were to become known as the Busby Babes. But Crayston was an intelligent man. He was aware of what was happening at Highbury. When he was officially appointed manager in December 1956, he sounded out the board on cash to replenish his squad, going through a number of players he wanted to approach. On almost every occasion, the answer was a firm no. One pertinent case had been that of Welsh winger Cliff Jones, who was emerging as a huge talent at Swansea. The Welsh club knew that they had a special asset on their hands and would not sell at less than his true value. Eventually he went, of all places, to Tottenham. Arsenal finished that season in 5th place, but Crayston could see the need for new blood and for new faces, and the club's league performances the following season proved he was right. He was helped immensely by the appointment of Ron Greenwood in the winter of 1957, but even with the input from the man generally recognised as one of the brightest, most innovative and gifted coaches this country has ever produced, Crayston struggled. A mediocre league campaign saw the team get 39 points from 42 matches, obviously 2 points for a win, 1 for a draw back then. The league is chiefly remembered for the encounter with Manchester United at Highbury. A hugely entertaining game saw United win 5-4. It turned out to be the last time that the Busby Babes played in England. A few days after the game, they flew to Belgrade for a European Cup match with Red Star. It was on the way back from that match that the plane crashed on the runway at Munich airport, killing 9 players and 14 others. The league campaign was bad enough. They eventually finished in 12th place, but what really hurt was the exit to the minnows of Northampton Town in the 3rd round of the FA Cup. At the end of the season, Crayston decided to call it a day. No success, no funds, no success. He could not see his way out of the cycle of despair. It was a huge decision for him. After all, he'd been attached to Arsenal for the best part of a quarter of a century. Sounds familiar, eh? But he had had enough. He wouldn't be able to carry on under those conditions. The favourite to replace him was the ever-popular Joe Mercer, who had been afforded legendary status by the Arsenal fans, and it was known that he would have relished the job of turning the club he had served with such distinction into a successful one once again. Sounds like Thierry Henry. But the board chose former goalkeeper George Swindon. It's like bringing back David Seaman or Jens Lehmann, and retained Greenwood as his assistant. They made a good pair. Swindon was all about tradition, while Greenwood was all for new ideas. Swindon had cut his managerial teeth at Peterborough, where, under his leadership, the club had earned a reputation as FA Cup giant killers. For years to come, no one relished a game against the Posh, as they were nicknamed. And they still are, by the way. And in his first season, Arsenal appeared to respond to his management and Greenwood's guidance on the training pitch. They finished 3rd in the league behind Wolverhampton Wanderers and were unlucky to go out of the FA Cup at the 5th round stage to Sheffield United in a replay, during which goalkeeper Jack Kelsey broke an arm. Despite 4 years in the hot seat, Swindon was unable to bring back the glory days to Highbury. It made matters considerably worse for the Arsenal faithful to witness the glory days that were happening a few miles across North London at the time. In 59-60, Arsenal finished 13th, Tottenham came 3rd. The following season, Arsenal finished 11th, and Tottenham won the double. The double winning Spurs side featured Danny Blanchflower, Dave Mackay, and ironically Cliff Jones, the player that Jack Crayston had tried to sign. I don't think we'll be thinking the same about Jan Vertonghen, but that's just me. They were all conquering and played football with style, and that was hard for the Arsenal fans to take. Arsenal simply didn't have the wherewithal to compete with their successful neighbours, and it was increasingly difficult for the club to raise funds to buy players. No success, no players, smaller crowds. See, that's what we have to guard against. Well, not yet, but, it could kick in if we're not careful. It was the same problem that had confronted Jack Crayston. There were exceptions, of course, like the powerful winger Danny Clapton, who, incidentally, remains the all-time favourite player of chief shareholder Danny Fiszman. Of course, the late Danny Fiszman now. Anyway, that's all for this time. I hope you enjoyed the podcast vlog. Number 42, I'll mention it twice because I forgot at the beginning, I believe. And, well, up the Gooners. Until the next time. Keep it going, Arsenal. Keep it going. No, I'm going to stop. Bye.